So in this video we're going to delete a book and test that the certain item, the certain element is not present in the DOM. What I've done before this video, I added this button in here. What happened after I did that is that we have this label, and inside that label we have another label for the button, and this is all. In our test we're testing book 0. In our test for books list, we're going by the data test ID book 0, and we're looking that it has the name of the book. But now it has also the button, so that's not good, and we want to check, so our test in that case failed. So now we can go and fix those tests, and that would be in books list test JSX, and instead of doing this, we can do checkbox. Why checkbox? Because we have enlist item, this checkbox ID. And the checkbox ID goes by data test ID for this specific label. So it would mean we would grab only this specific area and check for this text to have the name of the book. And I think this should fix our tests. No, it didn't. Component, that was in another app test JSX, and let's go in. Well, that's our previous test. Previous video. Now we have all our tests passing. And what I did right in this video, I wrote the delete functionality. So as you see, it's deleted. And now we need a test for it. How does it work? It works, we have a data manager delete method that just goes by the index and deletes that item from the array and sets to local storage. In app.jsx, we pass this data manager and this update books to the update books, just resets all the books. And in books list, we have a delete book method that calls the data manager delete method and updates the view. And list item calls this delete book via props. So what we could have done, we could have tested book list test JSX, but in that case, what needed to get done as well is we would have needed to pass this props as well. We need to pass this data manager and update books. And I don't really care to do that, first of all, because then I would need to implement the update books in my test, so I would see that it wouldn't be a very good test. So we're going to get one level higher, and we're going to test the app as well in this test. The same thing we've done in a previous video. We're tested, so when adding a book, a view should be updated, and now we're going to write a test. When deleting a book, local storage and view should be updated. I'm going to pass a callback in here. And we're going to need a data manager in here. So import data manager from. Here we're going to do const data manager, new data manager. And we're going to add a couple of books. Add book 1, and let's add a book 2. So what would be our assertions? First, we need to render our component, and that would be render app. Then our assertions to check local storage. So to check local storage, we're checking that first data manager get books after we've added 2 books should be, it returns us an array, should be to be 1. No, not 1, 2. So okay, so we have this, and after that we have to fire event click, and we need to check that button, and that button would have this ID and label and data test ID. So what we can do is use that data test ID, and that would be button and ID, and our ID is the index of the array. So if we want to delete the first book, it would be 0, and we want to delete the second book, it would be 1. So let's delete the first book, and that would be fire event component get by test ID book 0. Not book, button 0, and after that Let's make the same test and let's make it 1. So check this out. And this is wrong. Why? Received 3. This is because we don't have a good cleanup in our tests. So after which we pass a callback, we use a cleanup, but we also set local storage, set item, books, JSON, string. Now our test should pass. Yes. Let's also check our DOM. So what we can do is we deleted the first book. And how this works with React testing libraries, you have this get by test ID, but you also have another method that would have the same part, like by test ID, by label text or whatever, but instead of get, the first part of this method would be called query. And the difference is when you call get by test ID, if it doesn't find this element, it would throw an error and your test would fail. And this is usually what you want in most cases, but in the case if you want to test if something is not present in the DOM, then you can query this element. To do this, so this is the same thing, so let's make expect and component not get query by label text book 1, and we just say to be null. Just to check, if we would write book 2, which we did not delete, the test would fail because it's not null. Yeah, so you see it when deleting should be updated to be null. That's an error. Which you can also test. What I did here is instead of having this book 0 or book 1 in our li, I just call them all data test ID book. And this way we can query them all. Say component get all by test ID book, and now I just can call to have length, and that should be the same as our array, so we would have the same items in the view as in our array of getBooks. So this would be 1 and this would be 1. Okay, all of the tests pass now, and so this is how you test that some element is not present in the DOM, just querying that element and asserting that it is null.